Good morning, everybody. This is Sophia Lynn. It's early in the morning. I've been up since like four something. I had to get up yesterday about four to do a healing circle with a group of wonderful women on the East Coast. But this morning, I woke up and I just couldn't go back to sleep. First, I want to apologize for yesterday's Facebook Live event, the technical problems we had caused us to lose half of the meditation, and I couldn't even end it. Facebook is so hung up and so technologically dysfunctional that it's just basically useless. I got on this morning and tried to delete a couple of comments after, some DM messages after I read them and responded. And the thing is still cycling. That was 30 minutes ago. So it's going to continue. I've been talking about this and then for a long time. And then I posted that message a couple of days ago from Mastering Alchemy about the time warps and folding and bending and weird things that are happening. And we've been talking about this a long time, but it's not just talk anymore. There's starting to be real physical evidence and situations happening that are starting to now be in our faces. You can still deny it if you want to. Pretty soon it's going to get to the point where you can't deny it. So this morning, I decided to write to read something. No, to I'll say to post it as a video, not because I wanted to. I didn't want to post it as something for you to read, because sometimes when I post a long read, you guys don't want to take the time to read it, and I get that. So I'm going to do it as a video. It is my morning moment, and I just had to say this. So today, my morning moment is asking the question, has war come to America? I wrote this a couple of weeks ago, but I held off posting it because the time didn't feel right. But after the technology glitches of the last week and yesterday's internet fiasco, and seeing that it's still going on this morning, I had to say this because you need to hear it, whether you like it or not. It's not something, I'm not doing this to scare you, but I need to say something to kind of put a bug in your ear or up your butt, whatever you want to say it, however you want to say it, because you need to pay attention to what's going on and stop sticking your head in the sand. This is time to wake up and smell the roses or the 3 day old garbage, however that looks for you. Facebook and the web browsers and websites yesterday have been having they're almost nearly non-functional, inaccessible. Before I did the Facebook Live yesterday, I went to my website to create an email for my marketing campaign. And I made changes to the email format, the template itself, and did everything. And I hit save. And the website went into Never Never Land. And for the next 10, 15 minutes, I'm trying to save it, save it, save it. It's asking me to verify I'm a human. I did that. Then it would go back to the website, and then it would come back. I mean, I did this for 10 or 15 minutes, and finally the website crashed. Needless to say, I lost all my changes, but by this time I needed to get on Facebook to do the live. So I just put that aside and decided, oh, well, I won't deal with that for now. And then I thought, it was like a little after four, and I thought, I better log on to Facebook and get everything set up because this is kind of weird. And I know Facebook has been glitchy. So I started logging on Facebook a little after four, and I finally got logged in at 20 after four, over 15 minutes trying to log in just to get things set up. So I went ahead and I thought, no, I'm not going to wait any longer. I'm going to set up the Facebook Live. So when the time comes, all I have to do is hit go live and we're good to go. So I went ahead and did that. It took longer than usual, but at least I got it set up. So 5 o'clock rolls around and I hit the Facebook Live button and it looked like it started. It did start. But I noticed, because I usually will log on to the group that I'm broadcasting the Facebook Live in and kind of watch it to see how it's showing up for everybody that's watching it. And I kept noticing some cyclings, like the little circle that goes around during the live. But I was in it and I couldn't stop to go see what was happening technologically. So I kept going and kept going. And I was really concerned that it was working, and I noticed that I didn't really have anybody getting on with me, which is usually not the case. I usually have people that get in and post, comments where I'm from and, respond to the live that's going on. And I noticed there was really only one other person on besides me. So that gave me a little bit of concern. So long story short, I do the Facebook Live. The meditation was 45 minutes or so. And when I tried to end it, I couldn't even get to the button that said end your video. When I went to the control page where you set the lives up, I noticed it was cycling, but it was cycling on the box that said your video is starting. It didn't even get to the point where it was consistently recording. So I let it keep spinning for a minute because I thought this is not good. And I just watched it for a while. And then I went and did something else and came back about 5 or 10 minutes later. And it was still cycling on the video is starting. So I ended it because I knew we had a problem and I wanted to see, I could see the live in the group. At least it looked like it was there. So when I ended the broadcast and got out of the Facebook Live control room, I went back to our page to see what had happened, and we only got half of the Facebook Live. It lost the last 20, 30 minutes of it. And I haven't watched what it did capture to see what quality that is. So I realized that I'm going to have to redo it because it's not usable, and it just goes from like a certain point in the broadcast to the end where it's over. And I don't even know how it figures that out. But that and the fact that the other websites I tried to use crashed, and Yahoo, I couldn't get into Yahoo, I couldn't get into Google. The pages were just basically non-functional. And I knew, as a former technology professional, I knew exactly what that meant. After our government bombed Iran, they swore they were going to get back at us. And while I know that most countries in the world would not dare to attack us physically on our own soil because we got too many bombs, and we have a leader right now who has no qualms about using them. So I don't think that's going to be the way it is. But technologically, we are wide open because we belong to the internet that's all over the planet. So there are ways to get to us, and we don't even see it coming, but we see the evidence, and that's what we're seeing now. So I saw a post on Facebook the other day, then maybe a couple of weeks ago, back when I wrote this first version of my morning moment. And someone was asking what war in the US would be like, which kind of made me start to think. Several people responded, it would look like this, or they said it would look like that, as they recounted what it was like in war-torn countries like the Middle East or Ukraine, where bombs and invading soldiers destroyed everything. But that scenario doesn't quite fit with what war in America would look like. War in the US would look more like what's happening now. One person pointed out that we were at war in the Middle East for 20 years. We were. We didn't think about it that way because they weren't bombing us. We were over there bombing them. Africa, the Middle East, Iran, Iraq. Well, not so much Iran, but Iraq. But life here in America didn't change much. We heard about it. We got higher prices on products and gas and things like that. The only thing that we really felt was the fact that our loved ones were being sent off to places where some came back badly damaged, mentally, emotionally, and physically, and others came back in body bags. We had higher prices for gas and other products, but we accepted it and we kept living our lives. Strangely, once the war was over, prices didn't go back down. In fact, they're still going up, even in times of so-called peace. So think about what that really means in case you're not getting it. Could it be that the wars are just ways of manipulating prices for the elite to make more money? I'll just let that marinate for a while. Other commenters pointed out that countries where the wars did involve bombs and invasions, um, they hid in shelters during the attacks and tried to escape if they could. But once the bombing stopped, people went back to work, did their shopping, and tried to make the best of what was left. And this is how life continued in those countries and still continues in those areas. When the soldiers and bombs moved on, life returned to as close as normal as possible, or they created a new normal. It's no different here, except that our bombs aren't raining down from the sky, and they won't. Still, lives are being blown up when the bombs fall in the form of men in black showing up with guns and masks and kidnapping people who disappear and may never be seen again. They show up when jobs are lost, when people are unceremoniously fired, or reputations are destroyed by gossip and inaccurate news reports. The bombs fall when rents get so high that some people can't afford to live in their homes or rent an apartment, so they start living in camps and on streets and in their cars. The bombs fall when abnormal weather patterns cause devastation and great loss of life and property, and there's no assistance or insurance to help the survivors rebuild. The bombs fall when rights are taken away that put other lives at risk, when women are no longer in control of their own bodies and then are paid a pittance for the children they must bear, like something like $1,000 per head. Well, that doesn't even cover the hospital bill, let alone that child. You may be even feeding it for and caring for it for several months. That $1,000 is going to be gone, and the prices are going up. I read something yesterday that baby products are going sky high. Seriously? I mean, really? So you figure though the cost to raise an educated child is in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, even on the low end. That's even if you don't involve a college education. That's still hundreds of thousands of dollars over the 20 years it takes to get a child to an adult state where they can kind of take care of themselves. So we figure $1,000 per head, that's pretty cheap compared to the cost of rebuilding structures and roads, which is what would happen if real bombs were rained down on our country. But for those children that must be born, the parent or parents, if they're lucky, will bear the cost of those expenses. And in 20 years, those children become replacements for the lives lost during the war. No, there won't be bombs raining down from the skies. You see, the US is so well protected with its superior technology and vast ocean borders that attacking it physically is nearly impossible. We can see so far away, and we've got warships out there and all kinds of things set up so that we can see them coming long before they get here. In this 21st century, we can see everything. We got rockets that can take bombs out of the sky long before they hit the mainland. You see, the USSR found that out back in the 60s. Some of you are too young to know about that. And history books don't recount it the way it really went down, but I was around. I was in school, and I remembered the bomb drills and putting your head down and, climbing under your desk and all kinds of stuff, and the tests drills for this, that, and the other. I remember all of that. But what happened was the USSR sent a bunch of warships and technology to Cuba, thinking they were going to set up over there and threaten us from Cuba. Well, our government put a stop to that in short order. They gave them an ultimatum. Either you leave or we're going to blow you all up. So the USSR pulled out. They left, packed up their boats and their weapons and rockets and went back home. And America made sure that that wasn't going to happen again. They set up a base on the far eastern tip of Cuba. We know it as Guantanamo Bay. You hear about it a lot now because of the prisons that we use it for. It's off the mainland, so it's, all kinds of atrocities can happen in Guantanamo when prisoners are sent there because there's no eyes to see, and very few people I've ever heard of, very few people coming out of there. They used it a lot for foreign prisoners, prisoners of war, and stuff like that. We did hear about some of the waterboarding and stuff that happened, that was going on 20 years ago. They claim it stopped, but they probably don't need waterboarding anymore. They got other ways. I mean, they can do it with sound. They can do it with all kinds of things. Torture. America is an artist when it comes to torture. You think that the Russians bad? We're right up there with them. Be serious about it. It's time for us to pull our heads out of the sand and see things the way they really are, because it's the sand that's keeping us from seeing what's happening now. But war has come to the US. The bombs aren't raining down on us physically, they're being exploded from within. I've always said, I had a conversation, an argument with a friend a while back about war coming to America, and she was talking about being afraid of the people coming in across the border. She wanted the borders closed because she was afraid of invasions from other countries coming across the border. And I looked at her and I said, "Are you kidding me? We can see them coming. We can see immigrants coming from South America. You think we're not going to see war vehicles and brigades marching across Mexico into to the border? We would see them so far ahead, we'd take them out long before they got here. So that's not even practical. The only ones that you're going to see crossing the border are the immigrants that are running from war in their own countries, looking for a safer, better place to be. And of course, there are criminals that are coming in, but we're paying criminals to come in. The elite criminals are coming in from all other countries, and we're flying them in and giving them, champagne and roses to show up. The hypocrisy is overwhelming. But the bombs, if they were to be exploded on our lands, would destroy infrastructure, businesses. The elite doesn't want that. That's too much money to have to replace all that. It's cheap to replace people. $1,000 a head is all it's costing them now. So they need to maintain those assets so they can continue their wealth building when all this is over. There are over 300 million people in this country and counting. And now that women are being forced to have children, even if they don't want to, that count's going to accelerate. So losing a few thousand during a quote unquote silent war won't make a dent in the resources that the people provide. So we are expendable. Besides, the plan to replace those losses is already in the works. So, they don't care about that. So yes, war has come to the US. It's a 21st century war fought with technology and psychological propaganda that doesn't harm the structures that keep wealth in this country going, but will damage the people and make them more docile and controllable. At least that's the plan. It's kind of working, but it's not going quite as expected because there's this other thing that they weren't counting on happening, and that's the ascension. That was something the universe brought in, and Mother Earth had a lot to do with that. When she realized that we were getting to the point where we could destroy the planet with our technology and our crazy, bombs, and getting better at it by the minute, she put out a request to Spirit that she was tired of this and she didn't want to die and she wanted to leave third dimension. And she said, "I want to take those who are willing to evolve and ascend with me. I'll take all of the life forms that are willing to rise out of 3D into the higher dimensions of beingness. And I want my human children to go with me, those who are willing to do the work and become the kind of being that can exist in the higher realm. See, part of why we need to ascend and do the conscious spiritual work is because our 3D bodies are one thing, but our consciousness influences that 3D existence. And in order for us to exist in the higher vibrational frequencies, we've got to transform our consciousness so that our bodies change as well, so that we see things differently and we live in a different state of being. And that's what this ascension process is all about. That's why we've been given these years to do the work, to consciously awaken and ascend so that we can take our bodies with us. And that's where we are right now. We are in the thick of it. So many of the teachers, psychics, astrologers, channelers are all saying kind of the same thing now. And they're saying August is about to be hot. It's revving up. We're starting to see the change. You know, there's reports from many astrologers that this is the time of reckoning. Some of the teachers and mentors that I've been studying with and follow for years are talking about the Lion's Gate. This happens every August the 8th, and it's a special portal that opens and floods the earth with a special kind of energy. But usually there's a lessening, a dampening of the energy as it comes to us. This year, there is supposed to be full on energy from the portal, and it's going to be intense. I had someone ask me the other day about time folding, what's going on with time. She had been looking for a phone that she misplaced. And she said she looked for, everywhere. She couldn't find it, couldn't find it, couldn't find it. And then she came back to where she started, and there it was lying on the counter. And it was so distressing to her. And I don't remember who it was asked me. It's not someone that I'm usually in touch with, so I don't remember who it was. But I told her, I said, I know time is bending and folding back on itself. We're no longer really in linear time. We're in circular time, and there's various ways time expresses, especially as we move into the higher frequencies. So I told her, I don't have a short answer for you. I'm not really sure what that means. And then 2, 3 days later, Mastering Alchemy puts out this video that pretty much addresses that very issue, which is why I posted it in the group. It's important that you listen to it. It's not that long, but it does give some very telling information that you may need to help keep your sanity as we move forward. But the Lionsgate portal is happening on the 8th, and it's supposed to be full on strong energy, which is it's not the only thing that's affecting the internet and the energy around us. We are actually being attacked by other countries. Electronically and technologically. That's why our websites and things aren't functioning. Their intention is to destroy our technology or our ability to use it. And our business, even the biggest business down to the smallest business, is very dependent on our technology. So when it's not working, we can't make money. We lose money. We can't connect with each other. And that's going to hurt us economically, which is how you hit America and destroy it. We are a strong country built on our economy, our finances, our wealth, our structure, infrastructure. When you hit us in our technology belt, you can take us down. And that's what's happening. That's the war. It's being fought behind the scenes and underneath the surface, but it will be big enough and hard enough if we're not careful that it will take us down. I saw yesterday that there are other countries that we've been doing business with for years that are now deciding not to do business with us anymore because of the tariffs. India is starting to buy oil and stuff from Russia. You guys forget Russia's got a lot of oil. They're doing business with China. China is way, way ahead of us in so many things. There are other resources around the world other than America. Middle East has tons of oil and tons of money. They can do business wherever they want to. There's another organization, you always talk about the G7, which was, us and 6 other countries that were supposedly in control of everything. Well, there's another group that started a while back. I think it was 5 of them. It was called BRICS. Brazil, Russia was part of it. India, China, and South America, I think, were the countries that were starting this new economic center, power center. And when I first heard about them, it was like five of them. That's what the letters stand for. But soon after this last election, other countries started applying to become part of BRICS. They didn't want anything to do with anything having to do with us. And the last count I heard was there were 20 some odd countries that had applied to become part of BRICS. They weren't working with G7 anymore. Um, and my mind just bleeped out the what's the name of the organization that we work together to try to protect each other. All of a sudden, I can't think of the name of it, but you know what I'm talking about. United Nations. A lot of countries are not working with them either. And then, there's all kinds of boycotting and threats that you can't come in, this, that, and the other. I mean, it's so much going on that America is being pushed out. Slowly, we're being pushed out because of the tariffs and all the threats with immigration, snatching people off the streets. Travel has started to suffer. People aren't coming to America anymore like they used to. The reservations are down. All kinds of things are happening that's taking away billions of dollars from our economy. So, yeah, war has come to America, and they knew how to hit us in our vulnerable greed because that's what we've been. We've been, muscling our way around the world with our money and our economy and our power hungry egos. And they're now using it against us. So be mindful now. Know that we are being distracted with all the drama, chaos, and shiny objects. So some of us won't see the truth. We're too distracted. Most won't realize what's happening for a long time yet. But by then, it'll be part of our history reports of how we were assaulted, controlled, and conquered without most people even realizing it was happening. Remember, history is written by the survivors. There are plenty of examples that this history is usually a distortion at worst or variation of the truth at best. And yet it becomes what we teach and believe down the line. So eventually it becomes our truth. But take heart. There's another level to this story that most people aren't even aware of or may be in denial about. And that's what I talked about, the ascension. And that's about to change. And boy, is it about to change. There's a bigger, more important event taking place and that in the end will neutralize most of the damage being done on the surface levels. But while this damage is being done, it's going to hurt. There's another way to look at this. And this event's going to change the world as we know it for good. I mean, for good, real good. For those with the eyes to see and the minds to inquire and perceive, we are moving into a place where all of this eventually will be a bad memory as we step into the new energies of humanity's future, the ascension of humanity's consciousness into the higher states of beingness. This isn't just about we the people, it's about the entire solar system. We're so full of ourselves and our ego and our limited beliefs and viewpoints that we think we are the only ones. No, this is the whole solar system. The sun, soul is driving this whole thing. That's why the sun is so active and sending out all these flares and all this powerful energy that's not only causing weather systems, but causing changes in the planet. Not all the weather systems that we're experiencing are natural. Some of them are man-made, but the sun is still doing its part, and it can cause a lot more destruction and devastation than any of the piddly little machines that we have here on the planet. So this is not just about us. It's all the planets and all forms of life, from the microscopic up to us. But the old must be dismantled to make space for the new. And we're currently in the state of dismantling. It's kind of like moving. You make quite a mess when you pull out all the stuff you need to pack, and then you make a pile of things you're going to give away or throw away, and you turn your life upside down in the process. Unfortunately, it's being done here on this planet as we are moving in very hurtful, chaotic, and scary ways because that's who we are as a species right now. We're not evolved enough to know how to do it in a way that can be least disruptive. In fact, some of them are enjoying this disruption to the highest. And unfortunately, that's the way it is right now. But the animals, sea life, and the elemental kingdoms are already sensing the new way of living and being that we're stepping into, and they're embracing it. We're watching our animals do things and form relationships that we used to feel like it would never happen. I saw a reel on YouTube, not YouTube, on Facebook the other day where a lion saved a baby wildebeest from some hyenas. The hyenas were tracking this baby that had gotten separated from the herd and were going to kill it. And this lioness, for whatever reason, jumped in and scared off the hyenas. And then when the lion went back to lay in the shade, the little baby wildebeest came over and laid next to the lion. And the lion just looked at it as though to say, "You're safe now." Normally that would be food. Who knew? We are seeing animals starting to walk upright. We're seeing different species befriending each other's, cats being friends with mice, and other animals, just taking on roles and responsibility that shows great intelligence and ability to perceive other life as valuable. They, in some ways, are doing a much better job of it than we are. We humans and all of our arrogance, egos, and personalities are among the last to see what's happening because, for the most part, we're still in denial. You don't have to know it, like it, or even admit that it's happening, but we are already so far into this ascension process that you don't need eyes to see it anymore. You can feel it literally in your bones, in your body. You know something's different. So yes, war has come to America, and the internet's the battleground. We are under attack to the point where it's barely functional, and that affects our businesses, our abilities to make a living. By disrupting our technology, it begins to destroy our economy, and that's our Achilles heel. We're so materialistic and focused on making large sums of money that we've forgotten some of the most important resources we need to survive. We've forgotten patience, compassion, generosity, unconditional love and acceptance, respect for each other, tolerance, kindness, allowing others to be. We didn't create not one other human being. They were each born into being as they are. We think we create them, but when you look at how most children are raised, we got so many people walking around talking about how damaged they were in their childhood. That doesn't say much for us as parents. The baby comes here with its best potential already programmed into it. And by the time it gets to be an adult where it can put that potential to work, 3/4 of us are so messed up we can't see straight. And then and once they become adults, we do a great job on those who made it through by continuing to damage and belittle and batter each other until we are in a state of basically uselessness and hurt and pain. But the good news is that the new earth is already here. That portal opened on February 10th, 2025, and the energy of new Mama Earth started coming through. Things accelerated back then, and that's why we're seeing such accelerations now. Most of the heavy lifting has already been done, and sooner than later, it will become evident what all of this chaos and change has really been about. I bring this message to you not to frighten or disturb you, but to help you wake up. Once you see what's behind the curtain that's been drawn, you can begin to work with what is. Be patient. Wait it out. Work with it. Do your spiritual work. Work on yourselves to rise, to be something better, to be more like the co-creators you were born to be, that you really are. there's not really much else you can do anyway at this point in time. So for now, stay tuned. Keep a positive mindset and expectation. It's what creates your experience of all of this and what will create your world. The best really is yet to come. Talk to you soon. Take care, everybody.